Go. Everybody, welcome back to this series on the ATIH, ATI, as the teachers say, the Awakening the Illuminate Heart workshop, originally designed and developed by Drunvalo Melchizedeck. And today with us is Rachel. But Rachel, why don't you tell us your name and how you say it properly?
Thank you, Gabriel. My name is Rachel Pelletier, which is very French.
All right, that's cool. And Rachel, where are you right now?
I am actually in Quebec, but also have a place in Italy because I'm giving a lot of workshops in Europe. I've used to since 1999. So.
And you are originally from where?
Quebec.
Quebec. Beautiful.
Quebec,
nice.
So my mother language is French.
Nice.
This may explain that my English sometimes I'm lacking some words or
Well,
fluent vocabulary sometimes.
That's not going to be a problem. Rochelle is one of the. Shall I call you Rachel or Rochelle?
As you wish.
Okay, I'll try to use the best accent. Sorry if I misspell it. Rochelle is one of the oldest teachers in the School of Remembering by Drunvalo. And she has been, I'm going to summarize for you guys a little bit. She has been helping Drunvalo travel throughout the world and offering workshops in many countries, and has studied not only the Merkaba work on the original Flower of Life, the two books from 1990s, but also has, and as such is a facilitator of that workshop. It became a facilitator of the following workshop, which is the ATIH, and the core of our current interview process. Rachel, Rochelle, where did you originally meet Drunvalo? Actually, let me ask you first. What is your educational background?
My educational background is from university, is with industrial relations from McGill. But I have been studying. I had two lives. One which was the mental aspect of things, which was being a good student, having diplomas and all that. But on the other side, I was always working with searching for, seeking for what am I doing here? Who am I? And I remember at 5 years old, decorporating and flying around my village. And at 13 years old, I was telling my father I didn't want to go to church anymore. And he accepted that. And at 17 years old, I was already reading books, which were like, well, I have the French titles, but about the life after death and things like that. This was a subject we could not talk at that time. So I'm 60.
You were a precocious seeker.
Yes. But so I'm 68 now. So it was very, very unusual to have these things. And on the side also, I got my very first workshop with my mother on I was 22. So which was about listening to your body and learning more about who you are on that aspect. And I never stopped going around. I'm initiated from the Tao. I've gone with the Buddhist. I am a Templar. I went with the shaman. I learned Reiki. I did, healing with energies. So I've been searching quite a lot until in 1997, 3 times, I saw the name of Drunvalo Melchizedeck into the books I was reading.
Mhm.
And I wondered, is that a living being or it's an angel? So I started really to searching about what's that, and found that it was a living being. And I wanted absolutely to meet him. That was an inner call. So that was in 1997. Um, so I found that he was giving a workshop in Kansas City on the fall of 97. And I really, really wanted to follow this workshop. But I learned that I had to have participated into a Flower of Life workshop before, or I would not be accepted.
Mhm.
Which, and synchronistically, there was a workshop which was going on in Ontario, which is the province near mine. So I went there and I met Drunvalo for the first time in 1997.
Okay, beautiful. And so after this workshop, you continued studying and then became a teacher, I assume.
During that workshop, Drunvalo was explaining that he was writing his first book on the Flower of Life, and I was always after him. Drunvalo, it has to be translated by my friends in Quebec. It has to be this group, which is a spiritual editor. And so I was always after him. And I knew I was to be a facilitator. That was an evidence for me. It was not, he was talking and I knew what he was to say. So he was explaining sacred geometry. I knew what was the next step. What was, it's like, memories coming back like that. So I did that workshop in 97, and in beginning of 1998, there was the very first group and school that Drunvalo had created about the Flower of Life. So I went in Arizona, and there we were a group of people who became facilitators, most of us, which maybe in your interviews you will find some of the old ones like me, which are Ron Laplace or Conchita or other people like that. Um, so I was accepted right away, and in '98, that same year, I was in England at the end of the year, and I was at what is called the Chalice Well in Glastonbury. And on the 1st of January, I was there, and the Chalice Well is called this way because the owners of this place many years ago received a message to go somewhere with a shovel and to shovel 3 feet or something like in the earth. And there was 3 of them that was there. And what they found was kind of a plate which is made of lapis lazuli and based on an iron base.
Mhm.
And when it was identified is that this was the chalice of the last scene, because we know that
Of the
Joseph,
last?
la dernière scène, The
last dinner.
last dinner, yes, because we know that Joseph d'Arimathie brought this chalice in England after this activity in with Jesus. So they have this plate, and it's preserved in a special place. But that night, from the 30th to the 1st of January, they took it out, and I had it in my hands. And when I looked at it with a 3D look, and I saw the earth completely blue in 3D coming out from this chalice. And inside of me, it was saying, you're starting a part of your life which is going to be exceptional. So that was on the December of 1999. And effectively, in 1999, I was a management consultant. I had 2 companies, but at the same time, the book of Drunvalo came out in French. And Drunvalo told me, Rachel, you put everything of your workshop in it, and it's still there in the book, the workshop that I was giving in the first years. So I started to travel around the world right away. I was in front with the French countries, though. So this is how I came to become a facilitator.
Okay, that's fascinating. So your career path after university was that of a management consultant for many years, right? And then you became a full-time teacher.
I had to finish some contracts.
I guess, yeah, I assume.
But in fact, I was giving about 30 workshops a year.
Right.
And when I was, I'm sorry, I was almost the only French facilitator. But even though I went to Czech Republic, I went to Greece, I went to in English here in Quebec, I went to all the French countries, even in Tunisia. So I've been giving workshops on several places around the world. And at the same time, different situations happened where we were looking here in Quebec for the native elders, because we were kind of contacting the fact that there must be some knowledge. I am really sorry.
Okay.
So there must be some hidden knowledge from the native people. So we started to make a research, and we found out that here in Quebec, there was one of the 7 recognized elder in North America, which was Grandfather William Commanda. And Grandfather William was making international gatherings. So we went to meet him, and he sent me in Arizona to the Hopis. There I had different adventures related to prophecies. But this has initiated for me another aspect of that path that I was in, which was to be invited in several gatherings in South America and North America with the elders of different nations. Among these adventures, I have been going also with some of the trips that Drunvalo has been organized, which were still being part of prophecies of the end of the time.
Very interesting. And so throughout all this time, I'm sure had many experiences of the Merkaba, and you probably used it for different ways and for different purposes. I'm wondering if you can speak to us about your personal experiences, how you use the Merkaba in different ways and for different purposes.
Actually, it's always kind of, when it's unfolding, it's something which is kind of a wow experience, because you can feel like you're expanding. You become huge, you know. And this was part of my experience
Becoming,
until I met
become,
Shiva.
oh, okay.
What were you to say?
You were saying your experience with the Merkaba, it made you feel huge.
Yes, completely huge, and I could feel the nature in a much different way. Um, I can tell you something we had in the very first training in 1998. There was a woman with us that had activated her Merkaba also, and she was saying that she had a very unusual experience. She was driving in the mountains into United States, which were kind of very much in Zich and this type of roads. And at a certain point, she came nose to nose with a 16-wheel truck,
Right.
and there was
A crash.
a crash supposedly. But it seems like the experience was more huge for those people who saw what happened. What they saw is the car has lifted, gone over the truck, and come back on the other side. She explains that at the moment of the impact, she just thought Merkaba.
Mm.
And the car was not broken, and there was only a spot which was round, and in it was the star tetrahedron.
Wow.
She remembers
At the
she
front,
huh?
on the front bumper.
On the bumper, or on the car anyway, and she remembers she had kind of handle that came out and that she held so strong that she hurt herself.
Uh,
So that was really an amazing, and we had other like that. And I remember that at a certain point, I was with some friends in Europe, and we were driving quite fast. And we needed to take the road, but at the moment we were taking the road, a car was coming on the back that could have really, we could have had a huge accident. I remember my friends being completely panicked, afraid, and I was just there, calm, deposited, and I had the thought, Merkaba, at that time. When I saw this car coming and hurt us, I just had this thought, and nothing happened. Nothing happened. we just we just went through in the road. So I more or less, what happens with when you think of Merkaba, um, you pass from one state to another. And it's at a certain point you get used to this new way of being. So being always in a field which is protecting you, which is yourself. Because I always said when my teaching, you do not have a Merkaba. You are a light vehicle. We are light vehicle. So the purpose is not to have a Merkaba, but to be the experience of the light vehicle. Because if you have, you're still in the experience of the duality. There is you and there is your vehicle. And we have to unite inside of us and become one. And this is part for me also of the vibration requested to go into the next dimensions, the next densities.
Mm. That's an interesting subject.
Yes.
Probably in a couple of questions, I'll ask you that too. So when you, I'm going to dig a little deeper. When you meditate right now, after 20 years since you activated your Merkaba, what is your experience? What is your sensory perception, and what's happening around you? What do you see? What you perceive? Um,
It is not, I am not separate from the experience of being a light being. I am that all the time, and not
okay.
especially in meditation. I can say that my senses are much more accurate or developed on, with the sounds around me, with the feelings also. I have with time developed the capacity of listening to people's thoughts if I put attention to it. But I usually not, because it's not really always nice.
Right.
So, but when it was useful, I used it. you know,
Right.
and with the activation of being this experience, I have gone through many things, like seeing also the aura and things like I can. But my purpose was always, you experience, you see what it looks like, but this is not the aim of my life. My life is the heart.
Okay.
I am here for that. I'm not here for healing people, listening people thinking, seeing what type of energies they have, or be a soul pass, someone that helps souls to pass. I did that. I did experience all of these things, but each and every time I'm just coming back to the heart, because that's the key. It's the key for now, especially the energies we are in now and the context we are in now.
Okay. So why don't you share with us your experience of the heart? Again, in the same very same terms, like there's the sacred heart. Drunvalo speaks of the sacred space of the heart and the tiny space of the heart. And so why don't you share with the audience what's your experience as a teacher when you go into your sacred space of the heart, what you experience, and then how you recognize going into the tiny space of the heart and what happens there, and what do you experience?
Um, what I could say is this experience has started much before Drunvalo for me. And I can say also what I say in my conferences. My heart opening has gone through being opened by the dark forces as well as the light forces. So it's not a matter of everything comes from the light. No, we are, as divine being, we are both. So many people will have this experience. They don't realize it, but they have this experience of heart opening coming from both sides.
Mm-hmm.
And this happened to me at the beginning of the 90s, 1991. And I didn't know what it was. Nobody was talking about these things. But I was
They still don't.
yeah.
Nobody really talks about any of this.
So I was in contact with a being which was in a real body, but he was teaching me at that time about the hurt situation. He explained me at that time that there was three parts of the world that were governing the population. Washington D.C. for the war, the City of London for the money, and for the programmation was the Vatican. And he told me about the extraterrestrials, which were also the puppet masters, and things. So he explained, I had several nights of explanations about what was going on this world. And each time I was seeing this being, this person, I was having several days where I was having a pressure right into the sternum, and it was hurting, like someone who wants to open that part of my body. So, and sometimes it was really hurting and asking me a lot of energy, and I didn't know what was going on. It's much later with Drunvalo that I explained that to him, and we had a lot of discussions because my conception of the Sacred Heart is right in the middle of the sternum, and Drunvalo was passing by the heart,
The physical heart.
the physical heart. But I finally ended up saying, yes, we go into the physical heart, but finally we ended up with the sacred space of the heart into it's right in the, and this was confirmed also by Shiva, from which I have received a lot of teaching about the light structure of the divine body that we are. And so, yes, when I was, my heart was opened by both sides. And for me, the experience is being at two places at the same time. I am talking to you actually now, and at the same time, I am in my sacred heart. So it's in consciousness. I am here and there. So this is, and this for me also is a prelude of our capacity of being at more than one place at a time. Remembering also that we are multidimensional beings. So
How would you describe that for people that are listening? What do you mean by multidimensional beings?
we exist in several aspects of ourselves. It's an aspect of us that is here on Earth, experiencing what we are experiencing here. But there are several planes of vibrations that exist, um, and we are experiencing in these different planes at the same time. As Drunvalo says, we are at least 5 places at the same time, at least, as multidimensional. But not only that, but there could be another aspect of my divine being that is experiencing Earth in the past, actually, or in the future on Earth. The brain is getting completely with this type of explanation because it is not an information that can be gathered by the brain, but by the heart. So when you're in your heart, your sacred heart, this is type of information that you can acknowledge and know, not only knowing with the mind, but know inside in yourselves.
So it's not linear knowledge assimilated by the mind, but you're saying it's more cognition as
Yes,
a sensory perception as well as a intuitive emotional process.
yes,
Okay.
yes, something like that.
And so for one of the many reasons why I'm going through this process of interviewing all of you guys is because it's very difficult to hear more in the literature about the experience of going into the heart and the tiny space of the heart. It's really a rare. I mean, there's very few texts where you can find it. And I am a scholar. I have a master in Oriental languages and philosophies. And when I was studying Kashmir Shaivism and the Indian philosophy, there were a few little gems here and there in the Upanishads and the Shiva Sutras and the Yoga Sutras, but like literally one line speaking of the heart and describing in great detail not in great detail, but like describing how to get there and what the outcome is. There are great saints of the Siddha tradition that speak about it with um, a lot of emphasis as an important tool for meditation. And so I would like to hear, like, um, I don't want you to guide us. That happens for people that are interested in the workshop, and you'll have an opportunity, to share with us your schedule of events later. But I would love to hear your personal experience or past experiences where you recognized, okay, this is the tiny space of the heart. And right now I'm here because I feel and I sense and I see this, and that. Unlike when I'm with open eyes and I'm cooking, which my attention is on external activities. So that's what I would love to define and understand a little more.
I think that this experience is completely unique to each and every individual. And whatever I can tell you is my experience only.
Well, that'll be good enough.
Someone else, it can be much, much, much different. So for myself, it's just a matter once I am in the heart. Um, and one thing that has helped me to live in the heart is before I was working with Drunvalo, I could feel this huge energy coming out from this place here that I didn't know. It was just kind of I was radiating and that's it. And I didn't know that was called the Sacred Heart or what's up, because but my very first contact with the Sacred Heart was really by the feelings I was experiencing of being in such love with everything,
That's good.
and people were telling me, sometimes it was so present that people were coming to me and saying, what's happening to you?
Right.
We can, what's coming. So I didn't do the path with a teacher for that. For the tiny space of the heart, yes, though. I did through Drunvalo's teaching, got there. But once, I was already living in the heart that way. So for me, it's only have been a matter of, well, now I need to discover this place inside of me. And I just asked. And there it was.
How was it? That's like, I'm sorry to be repetitive. I really want you to try and describe that space so that people have a list, a little bit of curiosity, because I know a lot of people have experienced that. They just don't know what it is.
So unique, so unique. All right, into my sacred space of the heart is kind of I'm just looking for the words. It's a cavern which is made of emerald. So there's the light is coming out from all the walls, which are emerald. And there I have on my left side, I have, if I want, a space where it's all nature. On my left side, I have a kind of like when with the photograph lens, right, which opens and closes, a space like that gives me access to the cosmos. And
I've had that experience.
I have other openings which are bringing me to different rooms inside of me. And when I asked for the tiny space of the heart, It's like it's like a rock. It's very, very simple. It's like a rock that um, is just made for me. It's perfectly adjusted to me. And I'm just sitting there while I talk to you. I'm there. I'm just sitting there, very calm, very in the consciousness of my presence. And I'm just sitting there, whatever. It's my it's my doo-doo place type of, I'm just, well,
Profound, profound peace and calm.
yes, yes, that's
Thank
it.
you. That makes a lot of sense. And um, some of your colleagues have shared similar experiences. That's why I think there's a lot of value in hearing you guys try to describe this. It's a unique experience, it's true. However, we all are of the same source and we all the same one. And
Yes.
so I'm sure that the words are different, but the experience is pretty much the same or very similar. And I think there's value because this is one of the most difficult things to recognize and understand on the meditation path. People come to this space of peace, but they don't know how to get there. They don't know how to repeat the experience. It's like, and that's what we're trying to aim for. Um, and I think there's a lot of value in inspiring people to take the workshop so that they can learn how to do it. So thank you for sharing that. My next question is it's connected to where you were saying before, and you already answered the question, but I'll ask anyway. Do you experience a form of heighten or a spike in your extrasensory perceptions since the awakening of the Merkaba?
What do you mean by a spike?
Like an increase?
As I told you, I don't live in the same world. I was talking to someone the other day about some of the aspects like that, and I was telling that person, I cannot talk the way I talk to you to everybody. And her answer was yes, because they would ask, from which planet are you living on? you know. So what I could, if I resume, I would say I'm not living in the same planet as everybody that is living on, working and sleeping. It's. I think I can resume it this way.
Right. Well, that leads us to the next question then. So, what would you recommend to people that want to take care of those three pillars of joy? Like money, health, and relationship. When people have these three things in place, they're happy, or they believe they're happy, and they start searching for other things. And when they don't, they stay in fear or worrisomeness, or they feel unfulfilled because they don't have a companion, or their health is miserable, or they're not in financial conditions. And so
For me, when I listen to your question, it's all related to the way that the personality is built, the ego is built. And it doesn't mean living in the heart doesn't mean being poor, not having money, not at all. But it means also that when you're short on money, you can rely that you've been taken care anyway. It's a conviction. It's an inner conviction. So, and I'm talking from my experience, okay, where I know I'm taken care by life. If I bring in that some fear, I'm just cutting myself from creating what my heart is creating. So it's a matter of, for me, of the way the ego is built, because And also the ego wants everybody to compare. Oh, this one has a job, this one does not. When our mental is preoccupied by these things, then the heart cannot do his work of bringing to yourself whatever you need all the time. All the time.
Okay, that's a beautiful answer. So it's a matter of faith and trust, or fearlessness.
It's also a matter of knowing how things work.
Right. That's exactly where I was trying to address. Because, you know, if you are aspiring to have more wealth in your life, there are certain things that you need to do, right?
Yes and no.
Care to articulate a little more?
Creating from the heart is just things comes to you by synchronicity. The importance is to stay inside and to express uh, what is, I wouldn't say needed, because the way I do things is always say thank you. Thank you for this coming in my life. And then I let things work out. And my experience is that life has always brought things in such a different way that I would have ever imagined.
So let me see. You creating from the heart, you let your inner inspiration bring forward what you need, and then whatever flows through your life that you didn't create with your mind, or with, like, for example, like, I'm taking the car from point A to B is your action, but like maybe the car stops at some point, that is life bringing something to you. Okay.
Yes, you could say it this way. And it's, how could I say that? I would have never imagined the life I had if I wouldn't have been into the experience of let go.
Right. So it's a mix of surrender and invoking grace, I guess, and making sure that I mean, I'm trying to boil down the formula, and forgive me if I'm so mental with all of this, it's exactly because I am too mental that I need to kind of structure the process for my
Yeah,
little tiny
down to the heart.
structured mind, or maybe because I'm too inexperienced to actually recognize what is happening. I give you an example.
But Gabriel, one thing which is important into all this is to slow down the mental. I mean by this to come to a point where it's only a tool which is in service to I am, which is right in the middle there. So it's a matter. Yes, you have to practice that a little bit though, because when you always have the mental going on, it's boycotting the work that is being done from your divine aspect.
I mean, there's duality for certain. So
Yeah,
you
but
see,
the heart is unity.
yeah, exactly. See, the
So
thing. So, okay. So let me ask you: how do you know when your heart is creating, or how do you recognize that this unity point within you, we call the heart, is guiding you toward that? Because the action point, when it's time to take an action, that is the challenge. Yeah. In that moment, you have to say, okay, I'm doing this. I'm putting gear 1 and then gear 2 and gear 3,
yes,
right? Or I'm going from point A to point B, or I'm putting $3,000 in this investment, right?
yes,
the outcomes from the mind can be positive or negative, right?
Mhm.
But from the heart, there's this unity point that tells you with certainty, no, don't do it, or yes, go for it 100%, right? So where is the recognition there? How do you know that your heart telling you?
I would say one thing which is interesting, and I was discussing with one person because I am coaching people on the quantic sonotherapy, and I was discussing that with the person. Um, one aspect is I lost my idea, but one aspect is the synchronicities.
Mm-hmm.
Another aspect is in doubt, don't do it.
I mean, yeah, better safe than sorry, you would say, right?
Better,
Better safe than sorry.
yes,
So you, in
yes,
doubt, don't wait or don't do it. Yeah.
yes.
So now the question
But the
is
other point,
naturally, how do you know for certain? Where is the tipping point of certainty?
this is the point where I was coming, is to be able to listen to inside, because all the answers are inside. And and my past experience is that when I didn't do that, I didn't do the right things.
See, there's a moment of confirmation, like what I experienced, and forgive me, everybody listening here, and forgive me, Rochelle, as well. I'm becoming selfish right now, and I'm putting my personal experience on the line. Um, when I find myself in the decision making process, I often start the planning process with an intuition, an idea, a spark of an aha moment, or a coincidence or a synchronicity, like you say. But then after that, there is a set of actions that needs to take place, that needs to be planned, that needs to be scheduled and defined, that this thing has to take care of. The mind needs to take care of all of that. So in the process, what is missing is certainty. Do I go left? Do I go right? What is the best solution? What's the most efficient? And the mind is very good at defining what's more efficient. But then the problem becomes what is good, what is bad, right? We're going back into duality. And for certain things like, the investing, like I was saying, it's you click the button, it's gone, right? So it's a short-term action. You don't need to plan many things. However, you may need to do some research, and that's where the mind starts. And you're
Yes.
in on the clock of yes, no, yes, no. This is good or this is bad. And so the question there is, how do we recognize? Because like after the recognition of the heart's intuition, then there needs to be a moment of certainty or confirmation.
Yes, and if we go with the investment, as you're saying, you're gonna do some move, and sometimes you may wake up and say, "Oh, I have to check where that is." Okay, and you look and you find out that, oops, this is not exactly the way I would like it to go. So what do I do then? I change it. But the point is where you woke up in the morning and you had this feeling, and this is not the mental.
Okay. Or someone comes to you and tells you, this and this is changing, watch out for that movement. for example. Or, you know, you're walking down the street and, you know, the financial paper falls under your nose and you see that. And okay, so those we call synchronicities, right?
We call synchronicities.
Beautiful. I like to dig this stuff with you guys. I think there's so much woo woo and so much, and I call it woo woo because it's just not defined. People don't understand when someone says just open your heart and do this and that, or you know, yoga teachers.
There
Yoga.
is there is action.
I know. I'm.
The action doesn't come necessarily from here.
There's a lot of, and I speak out of personal experience and also talking with friends in the yoga community and in the, let's call it, spiritual community. There's a lot of stereotypical talking, and it's annoying like no tomorrow because it's so, you know, when people say everything is love, love is the core of life, it just makes me vomit, you know. It's like, be clear, be honest with yourself. What are you saying? What are you trying to speak about when you say everything is about love and this and that? You know, speak about an example, talk about your personal experience, show me who you are, talk about you, not just.
I'm going to give you an experience based on investment.
Right.
I had some money invested and I was seeing the value going down. At a certain point, I said, you know, inside, that's not okay. Something has to happen. And I waited until the counselor, I met with him and he talked to me about a certain investment that he was doing. And I just told him, well, I think I should change what I have invested to, and please, can you make it the same way for me as what you're doing for you?
And it went back up. So sometimes it's just a matter of attention, and then.
But the attention that you put in will come from an inside push that says, oh, this is enough.
Right. So in the process of self-learning and self-analysis, or if you want personal development, you know, there's a lot of words people use out there right now in counseling and in you know, shadow work, they call it as well. In learning about yourself is, you know, there's that part where you recognize it comes as an intuition rather than fear or worry, right?
Oh, yes.
Yeah. Okay, thank you for that. I really appreciate sharing these opinions and these perspectives. I'm going to ask you, did you want to add anything else about relationships and health and these three pillars that for people are very important?
Yes. If I think about health, health, which is important, actually, very, very important. We have the power to heal ourselves. All that has been created as medicine, as is chemically not natural.
Yeah.
Nature is giving us everything. We have an encyclopedia which is absolutely fantastic, where we can find all the information we need, which is internet. So we are, and the other thing which is difficult also is that the programming is huge on this humanity as to give our power outside. So
and
you have something, I must see a doctor, I must go to the hospital, I must take a such and such medicine. And what is important for me there is to start to question, is that true? Is that true that I must see a doctor, that he has the answer? Or I could ask inside of me, what is the other path I could use for my health? Okay, with the body, as I told you, I'm 68, with the body that is aging, actually, I have already put into my programming living up to 950 years. Okay, but sure, we will have,
Did you say 900?
yes, 950 years. We will have help to reach that because this is one of our potential. Okay, it doesn't look like it because we're in a dark energy right now, but as soon as we pop out of that, we will have opportunities of rejuvenating, and there is a purpose about that. I give a conference on immortality because this is a subject I have been able to think a lot.
I mean,
And
the amount of papers on rejuvenation and stem cells and all sorts of technologies, whether genomic or electromagnetic, out there is
the med
absurd.
beds,
There's so
the,
much material.
everything. So we do have these opportunities coming. So, but the question, and when I give the conference, my first thing is to say, what is your thought about that? What's the program you have inside of you? And the general program for humanity is you're born to dead, to die. This is not true.
Right. I agree.
This is not true. This is a program that has been put on us, like so many other programs. You know, I absolutely need to see a doctor because he knows for me. But, you know, where is this program coming from? It's the huge game of power, which is victim, savior, and
I think it's also like an incapacity of people to learn to grow up. I mean, like it's a matter of responsibility. It's your body. No one knows better than you about it.
it's much easier to say it's outside of me.
Yeah, and also just pay someone else to tell you what you should do. That's the key here. People always are seeking for someone else to tell them what to do.
The easiest path. You know, uh, taking the responsibility doesn't is not an easy path because you're going against almost everything on this earth. But we need to remember that we are not from this earth as divine beings. And this is, if I would say, for, you know, I have prepared a conference also about the different levels of consciousness opening. There are different levels. And at a certain point, you know, you realize that you've been lied. At a certain, after that, you say, you're going to start to seek about, but what's the truth? But this is not enough. What am I doing here? Who am I? These are questions which come after. And into this path, at a certain point, you're going to start to question the programming that you're having.
Received. Yeah.
And yes, and this is taking responsibility. Does this program belongs to me, or I was imposed that program? And most of the time we are imposed by our parents, by our society, but stop looking at television. Stop. This is a hypnotic technology.
Yeah, I mean,
But people are addicts.
we are talking about the basics here. I mean, anyone that is on personal development or wants to grow up right now,
Yes.
we don't even have to say any of these things. I mean, like, um,
But this is programming.
yeah, it is. It is. I agree. Rochelle, I want to ask you a few naughty questions. So I assume in your travels you've been down in Egypt multiple times, correct? With Drunvalo as well, you've been there.
I did not.
You did not. Okay, then I won't ask you that question. I'll ask you another one. Um, what can you tell me about other inhabitants of Earth, Mother Earth, the planet Earth? Drunvalo speaks about plasma beings. There's a lot of talk about inner Earth and hollow Earth beings. Have you been in touch with them? Do you know any immortals or so-called immortals? And have you been in touch with them?
I um, I have been somehow with inner beings in my dreams, but kind of vivid dreams where I'm working with them, sitting on tables and we're planning for the new earth. So, you know, but I have never encountered in consciousness on my daily awakened time.
Okay.
So, how many beings? There is a lot of them coming because there are, we have our brothers from the stars that are very present into their vehicles around the earth, actually. We have the inner beings also of the earth, but in the realization of the plan of the light, part of the plan is to have like people from the Pleiades, people from Sirius, people from different places who have taken avatar, a body on this earth, which are a relay between their brothers who are applying a part of the plan and the application here of what's going on. And mostly a lot of them are for giving us a lot of information. Some are there to be a kind of, sending back and forth some information about how things are going. So there are lots of them. There are white talls that are here. There we can speculate for over 20 types of extraterrestrial people here on bodies. And
Yeah, we don't need to go into that. I mean, the
no, but
literature is vast.
lots of people, like, one of my friend comes from Sirius. She knows it, and we're in contact with that. I know I'm part of some stars also. So, the question is who. It's not important who you're talking to, but for sure your vibration will bring to you those who are alike.
If you
So
see
this is part of not living in the same planet.
those that seek will find. What you tell me? Can you tell me something about the sun, the solar flash, the CMEs, and the beings that live within the
No,
star, our
I
star?
have not been in touch with these beings, but for sure, actually, um, the sun is a huge part of the the what is giving us to increase our vibrations. Um, what is known from the brothers of the star is that the fifth density we are going to is vibrating at 50 hertz. Actually, we were at 7.5 hertz several years ago.
Human resonance, right?
Yes, the Schumann resonance. And actually, it seems like globally we would be at around 30. And we still need to pass to 50 for living into this new dimension. I would say density, not dimension, but density.
Right. I think I want to piggyback on that, and I think a lot of people feel the difference, and there's very much, those days when it's heavy and it's difficult.
Yes.
And there has been a lot of them in the last 5 years. At least I've experienced it myself. Are those days with peaks where the Schumann's resonance just spikes like this. If it stays steady, it's fine. But it's just those spikes that are like really intense, headaches and feeling aches through the body and very tired.
Yes,
And
it
I,
seems.
I, I know because I have a very solid, diet and sleeping habits and meditation habits. And it's not easy to shake me out. I mean, it is, but not that easy when I'm very steady with all these things. And I have noticed it myself, and if you look at the resonance on those days, you'll notice there was a spike.
Yes. Yes, and it looks like some spikes are going up to 80.
Yeah,
It's huge.
yeah.
It's huge, and
It's short,
I
but it's
feel,
huge.
yes, but sometimes I feel them when we have big ones. I wake up in the morning. It's like whoop! I haven't slept well, really. Even though I slept several hours, and I know that it's these changes that are coming. And the earth is also, it's not only us, the whole earth is vibrating differently.
Right.
And the animals. This is much fun.
Yeah.
So, yes.
It's a fascinating topic. I mean, we could go on forever in understanding the implications. At this point, I think we should leave it at that. There is a scientific connection between what in the self-development and the yoga and the spiritual community is called multidimensionality and other dimension and going into new earth, and that which is related to frequency and the influence of the sun on the planet and the influence of other planets onto our earth planet, and how this influences the resonance of the human resonance, which is the resonance of human bodies as well. It's a whole science out there, and I don't think we need to go into it, but it's important to look at the connection between the two and find the same language. It's not just woo woo fundamentally.
Ah, it's a real science.
Yeah. Okay. So here's one of my favorite naughty questions: is the tunnel of light that people experience during the process of dying a trap that we that brings souls to be recycled from earth to earth atmosphere to the moon and back into earth and then into a human body?
Um, I do not have certainties, but I believe it is. It is a trap. It is a trap for people to reincarnate. But this is finished. And and this is a way also where we forget everything. For those people who have the Merkaba, who are being activated as a light vehicle, Drunvalo used to tell us, um, if you are to leave this physicality, at the point of leaving the body, just um, have the thought Merkaba, because Merkaba is containing all our memories. So he says on the other side, you arrive and you do not leave all your memories. So this is the first point, and the second is that what I heard from others, because I have not experienced it, but what I heard from others is also that once you get into the other side, at the point you express, I'm going back to source. This way you can escape the the the, the prison of reincarnation.
Right.
But actually, for all of us that are going to the fifth density, reincarnation is finished. So it's going to be something for me from my inner knowledge. It's something that will be our choice, because our body will be adjusted to the vibration where the level of vibration we are. And the more we go on a spiritual path, the more we get light, and the more we can adjust to other vibrations. So for me, it will not be a matter of I leave the body and I I I leave I will reincarnate somewhere. I think this will be some possibilities anyway. We may some souls may choose to continue this game on other planets, other experiences also, because if you change planets, sometimes you can you change the form,
Mhm.
you know. So
The
this will,
experiences may be similar, but the shape you take
yeah,
might be different.
yes,
Yeah. You know, I asked this question because there is very, very little experience around it, and a lot of the question in itself is belief system rooted. I've read so much, and in both religious text and New Age, let's call it New Age, and channeling text, there's all sorts of descriptions of the process of death. And even in the yoga tradition, there's a lot of, you know, the bardo of the Tibetans, and the Upanishads, the Garba Upanishad, where the soul incarnates and it's describing the process of coming down into the body, and also the ceremonials necessary for post-mortem, right? So it's a huge topic, right? And it's all rooted in belief systems, because there's not a single one of us that came back to tell the others. And those that did describe, actually, because there have been a few that had an out of body experience, of a pre-mortem experience, they come back describing this tunnel, going through the tunnel, there's a light. At the end of the light, they see their family, someone greets them, and then an angel or some higher light slash guide slash being of superior to them tells them what to do, you know. And then eventually they stay there, they chill out for some time, and then eventually they have to come back down. And all of that is for the purpose of their learning or their growth, right? So this is the generic, you know, summary that the belief system shares with us in pretty much every religion and many traditions. Now the question really is, why the heck do we forget? If and if we forget, why repeating the same experiences? And that is the kernel of the issue here. What's the point of reincarnating if you don't remember? It's like there's no, it's like playing the same video game on the same level constantly.
but we have to understand how the handlers of the humanity have planned that on us, to trap us,
Right.
because we are, for them, we are Sheptel, which is of huge value, of huge value, and they don't want to lose us. So they have planned to to cut us from our memories into our DNA. This is why we have biologically only 2 brands of DNA instead of the 12 that are there. And you can know about these 12 brands of DNA because of sacred geometry. If you were to take the the stellar grid of the dodecahedron, stellated dodecahedron, and you switch it, I should show it to you. You can see the 12 brands of DNA into it.
You mean
And
strands?
we are dodecahedron. We are star tetrahedron. We are all this geometry. So we can if we look and understand the sacred geometry, we understand that we have been cut from 10 of our 12 DNA brands, because these 12 brands are inside the dodecahedron, and we are this form. We are all the form of sacred geometry. I give a workshop on that, and 3 small mini mini workshops for for people to understand who we are based on sacred geometry, and how sacred geometry has gone from the source up to the density, and what we are inside of that.
Right.
I love it. It's fascinating. I see people discovering all these things, you know, and they're awe things.
Fascinated.
This is really, if we relate to sacred geometry, we can understand that we have been cut from these brands of DNA, and this is one of the way that the handlers of humanity have imprisoned us.
I mean, even just the idea that we have garbage DNA is so lame. I mean, like,
It's not.
it's
It's not.
just there. We the body creates this stuff because it's in excess and it doesn't know where to put it, right? Anyway, I mean, I'm not knowledgeable enough to speak at a scientific and academic level, and even on a more esoteric level, I've not read enough to be able to ask you worthy questions. But feel free to share any books and any text that you have read that has value on this subject. I'm sure there's a lot of.
A lot of my teaching, Gabriel, for its sacred geometry is knowledge that has coming back to me. The more I was teaching, the more I was understanding, and it is not a scientific knowledge, because science with sacred geometry, you know, all the Freemasons are working with the mind about sacred geometry, but they do not apprehend it from the heart,
Right.
from the feelings, which is what I do when I teach it.
Okay. So why don't you share with us? We're coming to the end of this interview. Why don't you tell us about your website? What is the title and the URL of your website, and what events you have planned for the next few months? When is the next ATIH, as well as other workshops that you offer?
Um, well, the next workshop on Zoom is at the end. I will give it in 2 weekends, because for me, being 4 full days on Zoom, I think for everybody it's a
And
hard. So I will be giving it 2 consequent weekends. It's at the end of April and beginning of May. Then my workshop is www.fleurdevie. It's in French. Fleurdevie.ca for Canada.
all right, cool. And we'll have it written down here.
Okay, so it's www.fleurdevie.ca. And well, among the different things I'm offering is also this, as I told you, these 3 days, three mini seminars on sacred geometry, where there is a lot of fun into that. And I'm just about also to give a conference. Um, I the next conference is Monday, and it's in French, and the subject is about a venture with Drunvalo, because there is a lot to share about my experience with Drew. And the other one is Thursday, also with the organizer is from Switzerland, and it is about the heart, the sacred heart, a key to go through this morosity we are in, actually. And so there is on sacred geometry, there's these 3 little mini ateliers I call. Um, I am also using a technology which is called Invertone, and it's a technology that is decrystallizing the stresses that the person has inside of her, knowing that at the age of 13 days, the fetus has taken the stresses of the parents and the environment, and our soul is choosing names which represents vibrations, talents that the soul wants to express into this life. But at the very beginning, we do have obstacles with the stress to express that. So the quantum sonoquantic is allowing the person to realign with her vibration. And it takes away a lot of the reactions of the ego or the personality. The person becomes much, much more an observer of what's going on. And there are many applications to that. So I'm coaching, I'm doing quite a lot of coaching on that, actually, also. And it's on my website, too. It's on my website. So these are the...
How can people do on the website, they find all the details to sign up for
Yes, they can, yes, and well, they can reach me through the website.
Okay.
And there will be another ATIH workshop in May also.
In person or online?
No, online.
So you do one online pretty much every month?
Actually, I'm more starting, yes, of the different kinds, yes. Yes, since we are prohibited from being in person, I have been mostly giving some of the different workshops that I offer and conferences every month.
Okay, cool. All right, here you have it, you guys. Thank you for your time. Thank you for being with us. This is the Awakening in Lumen Heart Teachers Interview Series. Once again, smash the like button, click the little bell so we can send you notifications, and please subscribe. Thanks a lot. See you in the next interview. Take care for now.
Thank you to everybody. Thank you, Gabriel.
Thank you, Rochelle. Pleasure. All right.
You're still